Let's do our hot read. We're not going to do our usual hot read. We're just going to quickly talk through. We've got 3 matchups set. Obviously, we don't know yet on the Bucks versus Rams or Cards. We talked about that one just a bit already. But first game coming on Saturday, the Bengals head to Tennessee to take on the rested 1 seed deserving Titans. 3-point favorites right now at home. Totals at 45. What's your first instinct on Bengals Titans?
Look, before we get into some divisional round games, I want to break down an interesting stat I actually found in our Bet Labs database. Number 1 and number 2 seeds in the second round of the playoffs, they're just 26 and 34. That's 43% against the spread. If you break that down to just number 1 seeds, obviously, we only one of these teams has a bye this year. They're 13 and 21 over the over the last 34 years or so. So, and then when you look at them straight up, number 1 and number 2 seeds are 39 and 20. That's 66% straight up. When you break that down to just number 1 seeds, you're looking at a record of 23 and 10. So, look, we see these number 1 seeds and we see the number 2 seeds, obviously, they tend to win these games. But as of recently, they haven't been covering. So that's something to look forward to when you have this Titans game. Look, my first inclination was to say that the Titans are being disrespected here. And look, we've said it before, that the Bengals have faced the 31st opposing schedule of opposing pass defenses. They're not a pass defense which can really slow down anybody. We saw it in the Raiders game. And I think you'll see it here with a healthy A.J. Brown, healthy Julio Jones, and a team that can run the ball. Look, this line opened at 2.5. You're seeing it go up to 3, and I think that's for a reason. I'm looking at the Titans in this game if I had to choose anything.
Yeah, I lean Titans here as well, and it sucks because I've waited all season long to bet against the Titans in the playoffs, but I think that we just might need to wait one more week still. Like, my most favorable outcome in this game is for the Titans to get the win and then host the Chiefs or the Bills, because I know exactly which way I'm going in that one. Whatever the line comes out, it won't be high enough. I'm ready to take the visitors in that one. But I do think that there was a little bit too much disrespect here on the Titans. Derrick Henry, it looks like, should be back here. AJ Brown and Julio Jones are going to be rested and a little healthier. I think that the rest and the bye week, it's a big deal here. And getting the home field advantage is a big deal too. The Bengals were way worse on the road this season than they were at home. The Titans are much better at home. Like that's the whole point. That's how it's supposed to be. But in both their cases, you look at the advanced metrics, it really bears out for those teams. So I like the Titans. I don't love the Titans here. I do think that there's a chance we might get back below the 3. I liked it a lot better at 2.5, getting below the key number there. Certainly if it gets past the 3, I'm not going to be too excited. I might just end up staying away from this one. But I feel like the Bengals,
we actually moved up to 3.5. A matter of fact, I think the market is mostly at 3.5 at this point. So
wow, okay.
I think that's where you're seeing a ton of Titans money in the market. It's actually moving as we speak. Sports betting market never slows down.
It doesn't. So we'll see where it goes this week as the week goes on. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back the other way a little bit. The Bengals are kind of the darling, like they're the young team that the public loves to fall in love with and get their money on. So I think as the week goes on, I wouldn't be surprised if the public bets this. Like, this feels like a pros Joe's game. It feels like we're going to get a lot of public money on the underdog Bengals, and that the pros might be on the Titans and end up kind of keeping this line right where it's at. So we'll see where things go on it. You like the 1 seed at home without getting a ton of points here. Saturday night, 49ers head to Green Bay, another 1 seed there. Packers are rested. They're the biggest favorite of the weekend right now. I'm seeing -5.5, 47.5 on the total. The Niners, look, this was the whole reason that I love the Niners coming in the postseason, because I knew they'd be a low seed. And if they won this first game, I knew they'd be going to Lambeau. And this is it. This is the matchup you wanted. The Packers have a poor defense and a straight up bad run defense. Kyle Shanahan's run system, Trent Williams, George Kittle, Juszczyk, Debo, Elijah, all those guys. This is like the thing we just saw with Dallas. Green Bay's defense is a worse version of that. And I think the 49ers are built to be able to punish that defense. It's playoff football. Packers are bad, especially on first down. The Niners are great on first down. Packers are bad against tight ends. I love how the Niners offense matches up here. The question is, do the Niners have enough defense to do their job?
You had Nick Bosa leave the game with the head injury. We don't know what's going to happen with him. We had Fred Warner leave the game. And they did say Fred Warner was ready to come back in that Dallas game. Obviously, I think they held him out as a precaution. So if those two guys are playing, I think they can generate a pass rush on this Packers offensive line. Obviously, they did get David Bakhtiari back in the lineup, and that's huge for this Packers team. Against this 49ers team, their secondary hasn't been the best. Obviously, Emmanuel Mosley has come back, but you can pass on this secondary. So I think the big thing in this matchup is the 49ers with that dominant run game, they're going to have to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. Obviously, 49ers are ninth in EPA per play. Rushing, they're ninth in rushing success rate. When you look at the Packers, they're 30th in defensive run EPA per play, 30th in success rate. That outside runs zone scheme, which you mentioned before, is something that the 49ers have been able to dominate the Packers with. These two teams played earlier this year in San Francisco, and Jimmy G actually led them down the field for what could have been a game-winning score. They just left a little bit too much time for Aaron Rodgers. In that game, the 49ers were laying, I believe that they were actually favored in that game. I think they were laying 3.5. So this is a game in which I think the 49ers are live, but you do want to check on that injury report. So I agree with you. Look, you have some 49ers futures. I have some 49ers futures. So I'm hoping they can get it done, and I think they have a shot. So this is probably one of those games that I'm going to be looking towards.
Yeah, I'm on the Niners for sure. I already got my bet in the app. I already got my pick out. This is my hot read. So I don't think you're doing an actual hot read pick right now as we're going through. I got my bet in on the Niners already. I grabbed the money line. I got a plus 185. I will say this. I want to know about those injuries. Is Warner going to play? Is Bosa going to play? What about Jair Alexander? What about Zadarius Smith for the Packers? It's a big injury news week. So at 5.5, if I can get to a 6.5, 7, Green Bay is a very public team. I do think the public is going to panic a little bit on San Fran after the collapse there that we saw. So I think that the line could move that way, especially if Jair Alexander plays or Zadarius Smith, and we get some of that good Green Bay news. So I'm not really too worried at 5.5 as a 49ers better. I'm not worried about 5 or 4.5. Those are all about this. I'm not losing a ton of value there. So if that's the range you're in, you don't need to rush out and grab it. If it gets to 6 is a key number now, 6.5, 7, those half points are a big deal. And I already grabbed the money line early too, because that one's going to be moving around a little bit, and already some of the value has gone on that one. So I like it. I'm going to get my hot read pick in on it, and I may add more as the week goes on. So we'll see. Sunday, Tampa Bay hosts the Cardinals or the Rams. We'll come back to that one. We'll do all of these again, of course, in more depth on Friday. And then the big one, Bills Chiefs on Sunday, the late game. Chiefs right now are 2.5-point favorites. This is our fourth time we get to see this game in 2 seasons. These are the 2 teams we thought were the best in the AFC all year. I'm excited to watch it. Do you have a lean early on this one?
If I had to choose anybody, I think I would choose the Buffalo Bills. I actually make this game a pick 'em, and it's more so just a numbers play for me. The Chiefs just, to me, they have been inconsistent all season long. When you look at their games against non-Raiders opponents, or in this case, non-Steelers opponents, they typically struggle to score. And I think we saw a little bit of that tonight. I think the biggest issue I'm having with this game is that the Buffalo Bills they came off a perfect win. And I just don't know if you could possibly play any better than the way that they played last week. And for me, obviously, the Chiefs, they did their thing. They blew out the Steelers. But when a team plays as well as the Buffalo Bills, it's tough backing them the next week. So this is something I want to think about for a little bit. Over under, I believe, on this game is 54.5. I actually make this a little bit lower, around 51. So maybe we could see more of a defensive battle in this matchup. But I'm kind of sitting this one out right now. I need to do some thinking on it.
Yeah, that total is rising too, because I put that in at 53 when I was getting ready for this about an hour ago. So I think we're getting money already on the over. I lean under as well, just because we know the Bills defense is good. The Chiefs defense has been a lot better down the stretch too. We're gonna see some scoring though, no doubt about that. We know great offense beats great defense when it comes down to it. So my lean here is for the Chiefs. And the reason is I think that this line is giving a little too much respect to the Bills on two recency biases. Number one, the perfect game they just played against the Patriots. Number two, we saw the Bills finally beat the Chiefs earlier this season, and they beat them real good. They dominated them, but that was week 5. The Bills dominated, but Patrick Mahomes was absolutely terrible and very likely is not going to be that bad again. And what we saw was two main things. Number one, the Chiefs defense had no shot in that game. Josh Allen was an absolute monster. I think 0.63 EPA per play, just like MVP game. And he can do that. We decided to do it again this weekend, but the Chiefs defense was absolute train wreck early on. This is not the same defense again. So that's a big change. The other thing is Mahomes had no timeout game. We knew early in the season that might be the case because the Chiefs had like 4 or 5 new offensive linemen out there every single snap. And that O line has come together a little bit now. So I wrote about this game a little bit already. I don't think we should take so much away from that first game. We should take away that the Bills can do this and are going to be in it. And this is not just going to be a Chiefs rivalry where they dominate every single game. We've seen how good the Bills can be. But same reason, last year the Chiefs won twice. It's fine. The Bills defense this year is not what it was last year. Like every matchup is unique. And I think that the Chiefs are peaking right now and are the best version of themselves that they've been. I think we're getting value on the line. And when it comes down to it, if we've got a spread under 3, we basically are looking at a coin flip type game. I want the coach that I trust. I want the quarterback that I trust. I want the home team. If you're playing King of the Hill, you got to knock the king off the hill. And the Chiefs are still the king until the Bills do it when it matters most. So I like getting it under 3. So I lean Chiefs here, but I'm really excited to watch this game because these are the two teams we wanted to see all season.
Yeah, I am as well. I think you kind of convinced me on the Chiefs, like at this point, because it's just look, Josh Allen still has to prove it to me. I mean, he was just so dominant last week, but to go in the Arrowhead twice in one season and win, it's a tough sell. But my numbers like the Bills in this matchup, so I just think I would lean in the direction of my numbers at this point. But we'll see what happens over the course of the week. We'll talk this through, and we'll be back on Friday to let you know our definitive picks on these games.